Hi guys, welcome back. Sports with Mono and Mono. It's July 1st, 2019. Hey
Hello,
Steve.
hello, everybody. Welcome back to the show. I think we have a full plate today for you,
We do too.
and I believe we need to jump right into.
First of all, let's talk our first segment sponsored by Coriano Trucking
Okay,
Incorporated. Uh,
he's going to sponsor our NBA talk
yep.
because that seems to be front and center. And obviously, the big news is the New York Knicks getting absolutely humiliated by the fact that Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving have decided to take their talents to Brooklyn off Broadway. Um, Little brother, any analogy you want to do, the Mecca. I think the New York Post said the Mecca is now in Brooklyn. Things like that. It's just a humiliating day.
And what do you attribute this to? I mean, is it Dolan? Is it Mills? Is it these? What do you attribute that no one wanted to even consider playing for the New York Knicks?
I think it's for 20 years. It's just been an absolute and abysmal run organization. Yes, with Dolan. I don't know how Steve Mills still has a job. I'm really stunned by that. I think because of the incidents of late, everything from throwing Charles Oakley out of the arena, a fan said sell the team to Dolan, I think, towards the latter part of the season, and he confronts him. I think just nobody wants to play there because of the dysfunction. And let's face it, they just don't have the talent. And I just find it absolutely stunning that no major free agent will even meet with them to
Right.
even
Not even
consider
talk to them.
for a supermax contract. To not even meet with them is so startling that I don't know what to say.
But you know what though? I mean, if that's what's going on and the fan base is so disgusted, why are they still going to these games? Why is this building full all the time?
Well, it's because of New York. It's a place to be seen. But you're watching garbage basketball, and I
Then
get
take a stand and say, enough is enough.
I've been encouraging that for over 2 decades now. But the fact of the matter is, so Durant doesn't meet with them. So the Knicks release a silly statement saying
They didn't want
we,
to pay him
we weren't
because
going to pay him anyway because we saw his medical chart. But the bottom line here is Brooklyn has quietly for the last 5 years rebuilt from this Boston trade. And I was all in on that Boston trade. Billy King was the GM at the time, and the reason was they were trying to win a championship. So they hire Sean Marks out of the San Antonio system here, right? A
right.
Papa, R.C. Buford protege.
Yeah.
And this guy has done a fantastic job. He's really had zero assets to work with. In fact, he had negative assets to work with.
Yep.
And slowly but surely, he's making, smart moves. He hires Kenny Atkinson, who is a real good coach. And now that fact that KD and Kyrie have decided to come to Brooklyn, I don't think that's by accident. But listening to talk radio today and doing some research, the Nets are an attractive destination. The guy who performed Durant's surgery is actually the Nets team physician. In fact, they have actually what is considered to be the best medical staff in the NBA. That's one thing, right? They
Right.
have an owner. I think Jay-Z is a part owner.
Nah,
But you
fraction.
have to put into consideration with the celebrity thing that behind the scenes, right? Am I saying that's the be all end all? Of course not. But the fact of the matter is they've dug themselves out. So my point being, it took the Nets 5 years since that trade, essentially, to be where they are now going forward.
What trade are you talking about for our?
Well,
for 5 years ago?
when the Nets, traded with Boston and gave away, first round picks for basically the last 5 years. That was the Garnett trade and Paul Pierce, and
Right.
they were just trying to win a championship, right? And they had to, mortgage the future for it. But the point I'm trying to make is, in 4 years, 5 years, the Nets to where they are now, the Knicks for 20 years can't get out of their own way.
No, they can't.
So I guess the answer is it's ownership. The Steve Mills we talked about. Nobody wants to come. They were throwing around money and garbage to an Amari Stoudemire who was damaged goods back in the day. He was a good person, good player, but damaged goods,
Yeah,
right? But
you're
they
right.
can't get anybody. They couldn't get a meeting with LeBron when he was a free agent back, before he went to Miami.
And so look what they did. Look what they did when they lost out on Durant and Irving, and obviously that was a package deal. They were both going wherever they were going
Sure, it sounds
together.
like, yeah, I agree.
So the Knicks go out and sign 5 guys, and if you want to tell me Julius Randle is worth $21 million a season, that's one guy. They got who? Taj Portage.
Taj Gibson.
Gibson, Wayne Ellington.
Wayne Ellington,
Heard
Bobby
any of these guys?
Mattis, Reggie Bullock. Now, are they better than what they were going to be? Of course they will be. They won 17 freaking games last year.
Right.
All right? But to your point, they spent money. I'll give them credit in the fact that they're basically 2-year deals, so they're not stuck with like an Amari Stoudemire type of contract. They got R.J. Barrett in place. They do have some future picks.
Yeah.
So they young. So maybe the lesson here is to just stay pat, let these kids develop, and maybe in a year or two they start playing well, and hopefully the tide turns and they can start attracting big money players. But to your point, we talked before the show, the money is absolutely insane.
I can't
what
believe
these
what's
guys
going
are
on in
getting.
this league.
Insane.
I mean, these guys are now making $40 million a season.
They are.
I mean, where is this money coming from? I don't get it.
I get it.
I mean, and these aren't just, you got Kristaps Porzingis, who hasn't done anything in this league. They upped him, and they're giving him $40 million now.
I did. And, so obviously that's the big story. So on the free agent side, I thought the Celtics did a good job. They got Kemba Walker, UConn guy, won the national championship there. Obviously they lost Kyrie. I think that was a foregone conclusion that was going to happen, but they just filled the hole. Great deal, good player. So they still have a lot of
I tip my hat
assets.
to Danny Ainge. If he's the one who's actually pulling the strings, he knows what he's doing.
So that's a good move. Klay Thompson, re-ups with Golden State.
Good for him.
Totally. We love him, right? I hope he's rehabbing. And
Absolutely.
Obviously he's going to miss the year. That's a good signing for Golden State. I think Golden State is now trading for D'Angelo Russell. We talked about him being expendable if Kyrie went there.
Yeah.
I think that's a good move. But the elephant in the room is still Kawhi Leonard. So is he going to stay in Toronto, or is he going to go to one of the LA teams?
He's going to the Lakers. I'm going to state it right now. He's going to the Lakers.
I think it's between the Lakers and Clippers. I think there's a good case for both teams, but I think at the end of the day, I think the Lakers, just because of the LeBron and AD.
And I think that's the big key. I think the selling point for him and to go to the Clippers would be Doc Rivers, right? Who I think is
Sure.
a great basketball
Plus the owner, Bomber. He's got a ton of money. Does he want to be the man on the Clippers? I mean, he's well deserving of being the man. There's no question. Or does he want to be the third part of a trio
That's
of a
a
big
good
three?
point, actually. You know what? I don't know how big his ego is. It looked like
It doesn't sound like he's got a real big ego. He sounds like a real class kid, keeps to himself, he's quiet, and his resume is just impeccable right now.
Yeah.
Like we talked about last week, I think he just turned 28 years old.
yeah. And I think that's great, though. I mean, you know what? I would love to see Golden State get back to the NBA Finals next season without Kevin Durant. And
Sure.
I was a little surprised they traded Iguodala. I mean,
Yeah, to the Memphis Grizzlies. I just saw that.
I know. They must have got 3 draft picks or something, but
They got to restock the cupboard. There's no
but they
question.
still got some talent on that team.
But
man.
Iguodala was a key component of those championship teams.
No
He's a
question
real
about
good
it.
player, solid guy. So he's getting a big payday, like all of them are.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good move for Golden State. And who else moved? You mentioned Porzingis re-ups for Dallas.
Butler was a
Butler, it sounds
rent a
like.
guy for one season.
Sign and trade probably to the Rockets. Tobias Harris re-ups with.
I think Butler's going
the
to Miami.
76ers.
Actually,
You're right. I think Butler is going to Miami. They did talk to Houston about a sign and trade, but it sounds like Miami. You're right.
and Houston's gotten nothing.
Nothing.
I mean, they were just apparently as dysfunctional as the Knicks. Doesn't even seem like they were even in the game.
Well, we talked about it on the last show. Harden and Chris Paul seem to be oil and water, and good luck on that front next year,
Yeah.
managing those two egos. But a lot of activity for the NBA. But the main thing, for our Knicks fans, and that it was just an absolutely
You missed the train.
humiliating.
Yep.
So, is he going to sell that team? There's no chance he's selling that team.
Of course not. No.
He's the biggest egomaniac out there, right? But in his defense, the Rangers are doing a good job. He owns obviously MSG, and he owns the Knicks and the Rangers, and he kind of stays out of the way for the Rangers side of the fence, and they have good management on that side. But the Knicks are just an absolute horror show, and that's pretty much all I want to say.
Yeah.
The fact that Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving came to New York, and they're going to the borough of Brooklyn is stunning.
It
Absolutely
is.
stunning. So we'd love to hear your feedback, our audience, on your thoughts on that. Send us an email or comment.
And I would
Sports
love
with
to
Mono
hear
and
comments to think
.com.
if you want that these guys are making $40 million. To me, it's shocking. I mean, I don't understand where the money's coming from. I know it's got to be television because I mean,
That's the only thing.
but God, you want to pay $1,500 to see the New York Knicks because
I know.
it's in Madison
I
Square
know.
Garden?
I'm not paying $1,500.
I'm not either.
But I'm
I'm
just
not
not
either.
not doing it.
Would love to hear some feedback on that.
All right. So send us an email at sportswithmono
Yep.
at gmail.com.
And our next segment is sponsored by Di Filippi's Bakery of Monticello, New York.
Our favorite bakery in the whole tri-state area, of course.
Yep. So we're going to touch on some Major League Baseball because there's a lot going on. And first of all, I want to give kudos to Major League Baseball. I think the London series was excellent. I thought it
enjoyed
was
it.
great.
I enjoyed it.
Nothing wrong with having a game start at 10 o'clock on a Sunday, too. That was great.
There's nothing wrong with the Yankees scoring 17 runs and winning that game. That was a ping pong match beyond
And
words.
why? Is it because it was 385 to center field? No, those weren't 386-foot home runs. I mean, they say, well, the air there. I mean, come on, the air. That's why the balls weren't sinking. That's another ridiculous theory. But I think Major League Baseball did a great job by picking those two teams to kick this off.
Yeah, I
Next
agree.
year it's the Cubs and the Cardinals. I think it was great. And looks like the Brits really took to it.
Yeah, the stadium was full. It had all the pomp and circumstance of a Major League Baseball. Ton of runs were scored. As I mentioned, Yankees won 17-13 in the first game. I want to say 12-8
12-8.
second game. Just crazy numbers there. And yeah, I agree that it was a fantastic
I
job.
really do. I think it was
The
it's
London
awesome.
Series, they called it.
And it won't be ending anytime soon.
No, not at all. Basically, because of the success of that venue.
Right, and the fact that NFL has pulled it off and they go to these games, that's just a perfect segue for Major League Baseball to get into that international market.
So what I would like to do is backtrack a little bit to the New York Mets. I got some feedback from a couple of my fans, our fans, that they kind of didn't like the fact that we kind of got on them a little bit last week.
Okay.
And I said, tough noogies. That's our opinion, and the track record speaks for itself. So The Mets this past weekend. Now they've been on a. They've had some horrendous losses this week. I think they lost 7 in a row. I think they finally won one yesterday. But the fact is, their 50th anniversary for the '69 Mets, they celebrated over the weekend.
Yep.
And during the week, and I'll give them the slightest of credit that they finally acknowledged Tom Seaver by renaming Citi Field and changing the address to 41 Seaver Way.
Yes.
But my point about this is it's disgusting that Tom Seaver obviously is basically, we've talked about it, he is
The face of that franchise.
he's got dementia and he's basically the walking dead right now. And the fact of the matter is this stadium has been open long enough, right? Now, can anybody predict that Tom Seaver was going to have dementia? No. But the moment that stadium opened up, and maybe within a year, maybe 2 years, I don't care.
That's a good point.
Tom Seaver deserved his day. And I appreciate the fact that they're doing that, and they did it, and there's going to be a statue of Tom, terrific. But I just felt so disgusted that he couldn't be there in person to get his day. And I think that just goes to the Wilpons, that they just don't get it. They just really don't. And we could go on and on. You know, we didn't even mention like the Bernie Madoff nonsense that went on 5-6 years ago. I mean, the list is endless. They can't get out of their own way. So I'm just making that statement, how disgusted I was that Tom Seaver just wasn't able to be
I
there.
think that's a great point, Steve, because when you think about the Yankees, they've had Bernie Williams Day, they've had Jorge Posada Day. I mean, they've had, and you didn't have a Tom Seaver Day. I don't know what else to even possibly say. What the
There's
thinking
probably some
was.
other Mets too that deserve to be. You know, Jerry Kuzman, for example, was a great Met. I'm not saying he was Tom Seaver, but you're celebrating the 50th anniversary of, obviously, which was one of the Miracle Mets and on and on.
Yep.
So there's Mets out there, ex-Mets, that deserve. An Eddie Kranepool, something like that. So stop missing the boat, Wilpon family, and get it right going forward, will you please? It's a storied franchise, and I'm just, I'm just sick of it.
I'm in complete agreement with you on this. They missed the boat on this, and not only did they screw that up, they screwed up. They said 2 guys that were on the '69 Mets were dead, and they put them up, and they're not dead.
Oh my God!
I mean, how do you?
It just doesn't stop.
There's no checks and balances here. I don't. I mean, how hard is that? But you're right. I mean, okay, you're a little late to the party. At least you recognize Seaver, but it was long overdue. And
Yep.
That's a great point.
Thanks. So,
Couple things. So, it's All-Star time in Major League Baseball, and I got to tell you, couple of guys that just stand out to me. This DJ LeMahieu, unbelievable.
I'm not worthy. This guy is a solid ball player. Batting, I think he's batting now. I said last week he was batting .330. He's batting like .340 now.
I think his average actually got down to like .303 about 3 weeks ago, and he's just
Fire.
on fire. Is right.
Right. So he's a well-deserved selection.
What a pickup
for the All-Star game.
What a pickup! I'll give you Cashman on that one. I don't know who pulled that one out, but
And we talked. He played for the Colorado Rockies, and in fact, he actually played for LSU. I looked that up too. He played his college ball at LSU. Was a member of LSU's national championship team.
Is that right?
Probably 2008 or something along those lines. So DJ is probably 29 or something like
he's
that.
probably under
But I
30.
found that to be pretty cool. So I did a little research on him. He's well deserving. And actually, we got a local kid we want to talk about from our St. Joseph Regional High School in Montvale, New Jersey, who was
Yep.
named to his first All-Star team, Tommy LaStella
Yep.
of the California Los Angeles Angels. He's having a phenomenal year, and he was on the Cubs. He won a world title, being a member of the Cubs.
Yep.
And now he's a first-time All-Star.
Congratulations to him.
Congratulations, Tom LaStella, St. Joe's. Well done.
And I know we're a little partisan, but when somebody like that in your neighborhood and somebody so close to our alma mater does something like that. You know, like the McCourties won them 2 Super Bowls. Like
It's good
great
stuff.
stuff. It really is great stuff.
So here is a little stat we saw right before the show. So Bryce Harper, as of now, is not a member of the All-Star team, the 300 plus million man. So Tommy LaStella is making 1.1. We saw 1.1 million, something like that. And then we saw, in comparison to Bryce Harper makes that every 10 games or something like that. Something just insane as far as the economics go.
And Machado, the same thing. $300 million guy. He's not in the All-Star game.
He's not in the All-Star game. So there's an awful lot of first-time All-Stars this year.
Yeah.
And that's well-deserved. But the fact of the matter, we talked about it. It's really home runs and strikeouts, and it's really not much of the old baseball that we grew up going on out there.
And when we talk about strikeouts, like you and I touched on this before, I got to tip my hat. When I think who the best pitcher in Major League Baseball is, got to be Scherzer. Right?
He's up there. He's pitched extremely well.
Breaks his nose, strikes out 10. 3 or 4 games in a row. He struck out 10, gave up no walks.
Right.
Wow.
And unless Washington rights the ship,
he's gone.
You got to think that he's trade bait for a contender out there.
Yep.
But he's been a great pitcher.
Oh, I think
There's
he's
no question.
Awesome. What's he got? Two Cy Youngs at least, right?
Probably,
2?
yeah. I think so.
2.
Yeah.
Great pitcher, though.
Yep.
Great pitcher.
And let's talk about the outside the Yankees London series. Their $300 million man comes back, and right back on the disabled list. Giancarlo Stanton makes a stupid move, really, going to third base. I just don't understand. I get the hustle aspect, but you got to be smarter than that as far as the way he got hurt. You know, he did a stupid headfirst slide thing that, collided with the third baseman, and here he is. He's out till the end of August or something like that. And I don't know. I'm torn about this guy. When he's in there, I like him, but he's owed 9 years left on a contract, and he just may be, he may turn into Jacoby Ellsbury for all I know. I don't want to say that. It's still early, in his career with the Yankees. But the fact that he keeps getting hurt now is very concerning to me.
And the fact that, you know what? I don't know that we're going to miss him. I don't know that.
Well, we haven't certainly missed him with the way they're playing all year. And nobody's taking that contract. Nobody.
No. What was that? That was unheard of at the time, right?
He was the first $320 million, but that was an extension that the Marlins gave him. But the point of the matter is it was a 10-year deal, and there's still now 8 years left on this.
I guess, yeah.
And
I
just wanted to throw that out there. That's a bit concerning for me, and hopefully he stops getting hurt.
Yep.
Contributes. So
good stuff.
Yep.
So let's move on, and our NHL segment is sponsored by.
Before we do that,
Please.
I wanted to touch back on the College World Series that we talked about last week.
Still on baseball. Good for you.
So when we did the show, Michigan had won Game 1.
Yep.
And we had predicted Vanderbilt would come back and basically win this. So lights out pitcher they have though. Vanderbilt's got a freshman pitcher. His name's Kumar Rocker. And this kid threw a no-hitter in basically the Super Regionals. And when I heard he was a freshman, and then when I saw him, big kid, righty, he's got an arm and a half.
Drafted or?
Well, he just came. He's basically a freshman, so you better remember this name, Kumar Rocker, for Vanderbilt. He came in and he threw gas to Michigan, and they couldn't touch him at all. And he propelled, Game 2, and Vanderbilt went on to really win convincingly in Game 3.
I mean, it really wasn't a reach. When you look at it, I mean, Vanderbilt had significantly more talent on the top to bottom. They were number 2 team in the country.
They're a great team. So congratulations to the Vanderbilt Commodores for winning the World Series title.
Yep.
And again, it was a great year for Michigan. But I don't know when Michigan will come back, being it was their first appearance there since 1962. But
And I think
So,
I think I saw
congratulations.
that not only did this guy Rocker shut these guys down, I think they struck out 40 Wolverines over those 3-game series. That's unbelievable.
right, so they lost game one, got angry, and really stuck it to the Michigan Wolverines. So I just wanted to mention that to finish out our baseball segment.
Very good, very good. So I want to touch base a little bit because it's the NHL, and there was a couple of things that went on today. And I know it's not hockey season, but there was some big moves that were a little surprising. This segment sponsored by Lynch Toyota of Manchester, Connecticut.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Michael. Nice having you on our show every week. So the Rangers traded Jimmy Vesey today. Did you see that?
I did. Hobie Baker Award winner in college, and
Not
probably
surprised by that?
Nah, his third year. I like him. He's a good player. But I think the fact that we had called on the show, the Rangers were sniffing Artemi Panarin, and lo and behold, he signed a big deal today with the Rangers.
Okay.
Very happy with this acquisition. 7 years, $81 million.
A lot of money.
And also the fact that Lou Lamoriello was really sniffing him, and he actually turned down more money from the Islanders to be a Ranger. So the John Davidson connection from Columbus, I think, was instrumental in getting this done. So very happy on that front. However, I think it's just really a salary dump. Not that VC was making a ton of money,
They couldn't have been making much.
but they got a third-round draft pick from Buffalo for him. So, listen, he's a nice player. Good luck in Buffalo.
I just thought he was one of those, the young guys that they were building around, and I thought he had a lot of potential. I was
he
kind
had
of a little bit
He had
surprised.
3 years to show his wares, so he wasn't as productive as advertised coming in.
They weren't so good the past couple of years, though. I don't know if his real talent. I think he's going to thrive in Buffalo.
He may. They got a good young nucleus there. Kid Jack Eichel from Boston University is the centerpiece there. It's Eichel's third year.
Yeah.
So maybe they connect, and he has a good career going forward with the Buffalo Sabres.
All right. So you're on board with this Panarin?
Oh my God, 100%. I think that's such a great move for the Rangers.
All right.
And we talked about it on the show, and I think he's part of the rebuild. And
How old is he now?
He's probably 28,
Yeah.
which is fine by me.
In hockey standards, it's, I guess, middle of the road, right? I mean,
Yeah. And so Columbus lost their goaltender too, Bobrovsky. He went to the Florida Panthers, I believe.
Yeah.
He had a great year last year. He may have been the best goalie throughout the year last year. Obviously, we talked about Bennington.
they gave him a lot of money in Florida to go down there.
He's a good goalie. So Florida really is starting to. They made some changes down there, and I think they're serious about getting back to be competitive down there. So that's a good move for them. Joe Pavelski from the San Jose Sharks signs with Dallas Stars.
Yep.
So he moves, stays in the Western Conference. But I've always been a Joe Pavelski fan.
Very good.
And he is a tough guy. He's the one who took one in the jaw, I think, and his teeth and whatever in the playoffs. And
And he was kind of the face of the San Jose Sharks.
He was.
That was a big surprise to me too. That they wouldn't have wanted him to stick around. I mean,
he's getting a lot of money down in Dallas, so they let him walk out the door. And we see what happens. But a couple free agent signings of note in the NHL, and I'm sure we're going to have more hockey news coming up as players move around.
and I got to tell you something. I watched this thing, and you and I, we kind of touched base and brought him up last week, but I never really saw. Like I said, I'm a little disgusted with Michael Kay that he had this Craig Carton on his show, which to me. But I think Center Stage was good, and while we're talking about hockey, Bobby Orr was on.
Oh, it's fantastic.
He is, God, is there anything?
He's such an icon. The Bobby Orr story. Obviously he is respected as one of probably the top 5 all-time players, regardless of position.
Without question.
But the behind-the-scenes story about Bobby Orr is a very trusting individual. And he had Alan Eagleson, who was his agent. And Alan Eagleson was also...
Wasn't he the NHL Players rep or something?
Right. Ran the union and things like that. but he ripped off Bobby Orr, God, blindly for years. And when Bobby Orr finally retired and, put in his ATM card at the local Fleet Bank in Boston,
Yeah.
there was a lot of dough missing.
But Eagleson was ripping everybody
Yeah, and the
off,
good news
you know.
is Eagleson got his comeuppance and
Yep.
really, got his, he got his comeuppance. So,
If you guys can get a chance to watch anything with Bobby Orr on a show and just listen to him talk about
Yeah.
the older days and just how classy he is and how much he does for youth
and he's
hockey
actually
now.
an agent now.
Yes.
Bobby Orr is. So, any young hockey players or anybody, you want a good agent, an honorable, honest guy,
Yep.
Bobby Orr's your guy, especially if you're a hockey guy. So
Yep.
he's got a nice stable of young players there that.
And I want
Watch
to. Part of the reason I brought it up because I said when the Blues, the famous iconic thing,
Yeah.
I said I don't know if he got tripped. I've seen it since.
Yeah.
He got tripped
Yeah.
after he scored the goal.
Right, but it's one of the most iconic photos out there of him in midair.
Oh, it's one of the greatest sports photos ever. But I just wanted to mention how awesome this guy is, and he always was. And imagine what kind of numbers he would have put up if he didn't have those bad wheels.
Oh my God!
I mean,
his knees became shredded actually.
and I thought I remembered him playing more for the Chicago Blackhawks than he did. He played like 8 games.
That was
That's
and
about
his,
it.
And his knee just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So, but he did. He signed a deal with Chicago, and it was heartbreaking for him to leave Boston.
Yeah.
But yeah, highly recommend checking that out.
Absolutely.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
No question. So let's just move on real quick. There's a couple of feel-good stories that I wanted to bring up. And I know you and we talked about it in golf this weekend. Was it the Rocket Mortgage, whatever that, it wasn't the Open or anything. But what's it, Nate Lashley?
Nate Lashley.
Wow. Want to talk about the story from where this guy was, what happened to him?
Right. I mean, I was watching probably on Saturday, I think. I never heard of the guy.
Never heard of him?
Never heard of him at all. And I turned on my TV, and I'm watching the tournament, and I see he's basically at 20-something under. He's 6 strokes up on the next guy, and I'm like, who is this guy? So then I was just listening to the broadcast on golf, and this guy experienced the worst tragedy imagine. His girlfriend and parents were killed in a car accident.
Plane crash.
It was a plane crash, right?
Flying back from one of his
Tournaments or
events or
right.
whatever he was in.
And my heart sank for this guy. I'm like, oh my God, that is just so disturbing and troubling.
And obviously, I mean, it was so shattering to him. It derailed any potential for his future. And,
right.
I mean,
And he quit a couple times, and finally, basically, his mourning was over and became motivated again. And we wanted to bring that up. That it's a great feel-good story. I was so happy for this kid to win the tournament.
Me too.
And now I'll be following him and rooting him on.
Look, if he may never get another day in the sun, but he had his day, and for somebody. From a feel-good perspective, he deserved it, and I couldn't be happier for him.
Exactly. So we wanted to bring that up, and
now he gets to play in the Masters.
he does. He
Yeah.
does. That's awesome.
Great story, though.
Yep, I agree.
Great story. So, Steve, who is our shout-out for this week?
Well, I'd like to make a shout out to one of my good friends. His name is Steve Schwartz, and Steve and I go way back. We used to work together on our day jobs. And Steve was kind enough this past week. Steve's been a loyal listener, and he really likes the show. And he gave us some real good feedback. And Steve was kind enough to put us in contact with a media contact named Bob. And we had a conversation with Bob last week. And Bob is going to listen to our podcast. And you got to know people who know people who know people, and you got to network. And we appreciate the setting up a meeting, and we'll see where it goes, and hopefully, brings us more exposure, and that'd be good for everybody.
Absolutely.
So my shout out is a hearty thank you to Steve Schwartz.
Thank you very much, Steve. That was very kind of you.
Yep.
And we appreciate your loyalty listening to the show every week.
You bet. What you got?
So real quick before we sign off here, it's Wimbledon. It's Wimbledon time, and there was kind of, I know it's early, round one, but Naomi Osaka, she's out,
Right?
and the 15-year-old girl beat Venus Williams today. So those are some shockers already. So you got to give credit to this girl, 15 years old, and I saw the interview with her after the. What a nice, humble kid.
Oh, wonderful.
I mean, that she beat her idol
Right.
in the first round of Wimbledon. How cool is that?
That's
Right?
fantastic. Congratulations to the young
I think
girl.
her name is Corey Goff. Or
Yep,
something.
that sounds right.
Nickname is Coco, whatever. but really, what a humble kid. And then I saw Chris Everett talk about her. Said I've spoken to her, and she is as humble as you would think. And what a moment for somebody like that.
Right.
15 years old, youngest 15 years old. Youngest since Jennifer Capriati to win a Wimbledon match
Wow.
at that age.
Right.
And Capriati was even younger than her. This girl's 15 and 120 days or something.
Right.
But I love kind of stories like that. And Wimbledon, it's usually about 2 weeks, so things will start moving and shaking. But
We love Wimbledon here. There's
We
no
do.
question.
and listen, I can't see any reason why you won't have the same familiar faces, the Djokovics, the Federers.
Nadal.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to be
He's
a
not
grass
much,
guy.
I know,
you
but he's Nadal.
Yep. But that's the start of Wimbledon, and then listen, it's been a good run for England lately, right?
Oh, absolutely.
They got the World Cup,
Yep.
right? They had the London Series, Wimbledon, and then the British Open is coming up. It's Royal Portrush, I think it is.
Right. And they're trying to leave the European Union.
Right.
Brexit. And Theresa May, the Prime Minister.
Yeah, I
days
don't
are numbered.
I can't add any input to Brexit or not, but yeah, it's been a good run for England, and they're playing. I think they're playing the U.S. tomorrow. Tomorrow it's England, right?
Probably, yeah.
U.S., England, and it's Netherlands, Sweden. So they're
Okay.
down to the final
For the
four.
Women's World Cup.
And I had a little shout out to my friend Diego Cruz, who said, "You guys you haven't even talked about the Women's World Cup." So I needed to mention it.
All right, Diego. We'll cover the Women's World Cup on the next show. Let's hope that the U.S. girls can advance further. And
They look like they're loaded. I can't see
Right.
anybody beating
they
them.
still
but-
clapping from their 13-0 victory in round one. And no, but we're rooting them on. Obviously, we're all Americans here. So
Yep.
good luck to the ladies.
So we wanted to mention that. So
Okay.
kudos to, was it Cheerio or I don't know what to say. But anyway, so that's what we got for this week. It's been a busy week. There's been a lot going on, and we look forward to spending time with you guys next week. And as Steve pointed out, anything you have any thoughts or anything, or you disagree with something, send us an email, sportswithmono@gmail.com, and we'll certainly get back to you and most likely address it next week.
That sounds like a plan, Jim.
Thanks for joining us, everyone, and we'll catch up to you next week.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great week. Bye-bye.
Bye.